close your eyes. Really close them. Now try to remember your first memory. Not the photos on the wall, not the stories your parents tell you about how you took your first step or said your first word. I mean the actual sensory experience, the smell of the hospital room, the blur of light hitting your retinas, the feeling of cold air on wet skin. Try harder. You're squinting now. You're reaching back into a fog so dense it feels like trying to grab smoke with bare hands. There is nothing there. Just a void. A black screen that stretches back for 2, maybe 3 years of your life. It's unsettling, isn't it? We are one of the few species that wakes up every morning as a dependent infant, carrying a library of memories that simply does not exist for its first few chapters. You were there. You breathed. You cried. You learned to distinguish your mother's face from the rest of the world. But you don't remember it. Not really. So why? Did your brain just delete the files? Did you suffer a traumatic wipe? Or is something far more bizarre happening inside that soft, wrinkled organ growing rapidly between your ears? The obvious answer is that babies are stupid, that their brains aren't ready. But if that were true, we should be able to remember being toddlers or even teenagers, just barely. We can't. The amnesia isn't necessarily a glitch. The leading theory is that it's a feature. And figuring out why requires us to dismantle everything you think you know about how memory works. Here is the strange part. You can remember things from infancy if you train them in real time. In fact, studies show that infants can learn simple associations within hours of birth. If you play a specific tone every time you flash a light, a newborn will eventually look for the light when they hear the tone. The hardware is working. The recording device is on. So why is the playback broken? The first layer of the answer lies in the architecture. Your brain doesn't store memories like a video camera does, writing data onto a static hard drive. It stores them as patterns of electrical activity, reinforced by chemical signals. And right now, in your infant self, the hardware is undergoing a massive, chaotic renovation. Think of your hippocampus, the seahorse-shaped structure deep in your brain responsible for forming new memories. In an adult, it acts as a skilled index, helping to consolidate experiences so you can retrieve them later. In a baby, that library is being built from scratch. The neurons are firing wildly, connecting to everything, creating a tangled web of potential pathways. It's too noisy, too much signal, not enough structure. It's like trying to write a novel in a room where everyone is shouting at once. You can hear the words, but you can't form a coherent sentence. The brain is so busy rewiring itself to process sensory input that it struggles to stabilize those neural patterns into lasting long-term storage. It's all immediate survival. But here is where it gets weird. If the hardware is just under construction, why doesn't it get fixed by age 2 or 3? Why does the amnesia last so long? This is the second layer, and it's the one that really breaks our intuition. It turns out, to easily retrieve specific events, you often need a narrative framework. And to build that framework, you need language. We tend to think of memory as a picture in your head, but most of what we remember is actually a story, a narrative. When you recall your 3rd birthday party, you aren't just seeing images, you are hearing a voice in your head saying, "I blew out the candles," or "This cake was chocolate." You are narrating the event to yourself. But babies don't have that inner narrator. They live in a state of pure, unlabeled sensation. A red ball is just a collection of colors and shapes. It isn't a toy. It isn't fun. It isn't mine. Without words to tag these experiences, without the linguistic framework to hold them together, they dissolve. They are like water poured into a sieve with holes too large for the liquid to catch. This is called infantile amnesia, and it's not just a biological quirk. Many scientists view it as a cognitive necessity. Here is the counterintuitive part. Your brain is actively pruning itself. In those early years, your brain generates more neural connections than it can possibly use. It's like planting an entire forest of trees in one season. Then, it prunes away the weak branches, keeping only the strongest, most efficient paths. This process, called synaptic pruning, makes you smarter, faster, and more specialized. But there is a cost. When you prune those connections, you alter the physical trace of the memory. You literally change the neural pathways that held the experience. It's like remodeling your house by tearing down the walls you just painted. The room is still there, but the paint is gone. So, we have 2 reasons. The hardware was too noisy to record properly, and the software, language, wasn't installed yet to narrate what was recorded. But wait, if that's true, why do some people claim to have memories from age 1, or even earlier? This brings us to the objection you're probably thinking right now. But my grandmother remembers being a baby, you might say. Or I remember a flash of light when I was 18 months old. Here is the truth, and it's a bit uncomfortable. Those aren't always memories. They are reconstructions. Neuroscience shows us that every time we recall a memory, we don't pull up a file. We rebuild it. We take the fragments, fill in the gaps with our current knowledge, and store the new version. It's like making a photocopy of a photocopy. With each copy, the image degrades, gets fuzzy, or changes slightly based on what you expect to see. When an adult says, "I remember being a baby," they are often reconstructing the event from photographs or stories. They are looking at an image of themselves and projecting their current self into that past body. It feels like a memory because it's vivid, but it's not an original recording. It's a reconstruction. A useful, comforting reconstruction, but a reconstruction nonetheless. The real mystery isn't just why we forget. It's why we are designed to forget. If remembering everything was better, evolution would have kept it. But it wasn't. Remembering every stumble, every cold draft, every confusing face from infancy would be a burden. It would clog the system with irrelevant data. The brain is an energy hog. It consumes a disproportionate amount of metabolic energy relative to its size. Keeping useless files open is too expensive. So, the forgetting is a filter. It cleans the slate. It allows the adult you to emerge from the chaotic noise of infancy without being weighed down by the trivial details of how you learn to stand. You forget the process, so you can master the result. Think about that for a second. You are not the same person who was born. The physical brain has changed structure, weight, and connectivity. The mind has been rewritten by language, culture, and experience. In a very real sense, the infant self has transformed, and the person you are now is a new entity, emerging from the fog. The amnesia isn't a failure of your memory. It's the price of admission for having a complex human consciousness. You had to forget the how so you could remember the who. So, go back to that cold open, close your eyes again. Try to reach into that void. It's still empty, but now you know why. It's not because you were broken. It's because you were busy becoming. The fog wasn't a lack of existence. It was the raw material of creation. You weren't forgetting. You were building. And now you're awake.